2, 3.
All right, welcome to Sierra Nova Comics Podcast. This is episode 5. Yep. And today our guest, you're going to have to say that last name, Todd Mulrooney.
Well, that's perfect.
Got my contacts in today.
Great. So tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm Todd Mulrooney. I've worked in comics professionally for the last 4 years. I always kind of dabbled in them. Professionally, maybe the last 2 years. You know, where you start making money, I consider that where you're actually, yeah, because you cut your teeth, you do a lot of things for free, and what we've been doing here lately, and the reason you guys brought me here is we've been building a brand YouTube channel where we have a bunch of creators involved and currently scouting for YouTubers, and we're trying to create a hub so that people, who do a campaign or crowdfund or have smaller channels to make bigger channels, so that you have a place where you can go and be seen by a bigger audience as you're getting your start. So anyone who was getting a start or having, starting out in this venture of crowdfunding or whatever, they'd be able to come to us and work with us, putting up original content as their book is going or as they're producing or whatever. And the idea is not to have to rely on anybody, but to always have sort of a home where they can go and, you get an audience out of what we do. Right. We're not there. Obviously, we're not here, but that's what we're trying to get to is that, 10,000 subs or higher. And then that way the more, because there's a lot of books out there, beautiful books, like your guys' Milky book is really beautiful. There's City of Venus, and he's only got about a little under 10 grand, but these are really quality books. And we're just trying to create a place where we can get as many eyes on things. And, even including the original content that we have. Like I said, we're looking for YouTubers, we're looking for animators, whoever, and sometimes creating a channel takes a lot of work. So we have a lot of people doing that work, or that's the idea of it. So as long as there's something like consistency, we'll build a YouTube channel. And sometimes that's hard when you're a single person working a different job outside of YouTube or outside of comics or outside of whatever your project is, then trying to do that project and try to create that base. That's really tough. It's a lot to ask. So we're trying to create the base for you. And that's really the genesis of what YouTube is. I mean, what IndieCom TV is. That's really the genesis of what that is. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm also working on Florida Man, which is a book with Mike Barron, and he's shopping that around for a publisher. And I'm also getting back to a book that I've been working on for over a year. I have about 12 pages done, and that's called Ignition. A lot of people in the community have seen some of the pages and know that I've been talking about that. Even on my own channel, I've been talking about Ignition for over a year. So it's time to get back to that a little bit. And we're also, a bunch of us at IndieCom TV are just branching out to webtoons. We're going to do our own webtoon. We looked at the market and we looked at what it does. And as far as eyes on your work and creating a base, artistically creating a base, it really is the place to be. And the only way to really push comics and sort of save them, so to speak, hashtag quotes, if you're going to save comics, you have to affect the youth culturally. Look what goes on over there in Japan and how that affects the culture. If it ties into music, movies, manga, they all tie in together. Everyone's dressing like it. Everyone's watching the shows. It's sort of a countercultural movement. And so for if we're going to do something like that and sort of create a bigger base, we need, where do kids get their content? Really? The phone. Everybody's looking at their phone. So Webtoons is really geared for your phone. So we're going to try it out and see how that goes. I know that seems like a lot of things, but when you're really trying to do this game for the aspect of creating a book, you really got to, the marketing and the social media aspect is very, even if you just wanted to work at Image or Marvel or DC, you post every day, every single day, get your work out there, get it noticed, keep showing that you're getting better. You might think nobody's watching. Having done this for as many years as I have, they are watching. They won't comment, right? Editors and pros won't comment. That's a given because they're afraid you're going to go, oh, you stole my idea. Or that they're always afraid of that kind of stuff. But they are watching. So if you're posting every day and you're getting better and you're trying to get some notice and you're trying to get eyes on anything that you're doing, you got to keep consistent.
Absolutely, that's awesome because that's definitely a big part of what we're trying to do is build like the resources necessary to help indie artists. And so that's why it's great with channels like yours so that we can actually help, spread the word of other places that people can go. On our platform, we have tons of creators putting up their comics there, but we always tell them, like, you can post it wherever you think you're going to get views. Like, that's the goal. Like, we don't want to hinder anyone. We want to just open the doors for people.
Yeah, when you talk about resources, that's another thing. We're trying to build that too. I just thought about that today when I connected with a guy who taught me how to color. It's Chris Sotomayor, and he colors for Comics Experience. It's just like a 9-week course that you take online, about 3 hours a night, once a week, and that was a really good asset. So these assets are out there. These people, I didn't realize he had a channel. So I was thinking about a series of videos of, if you want to learn to color and you don't have the money, there are these 3 guys or 4 guys that are doing it on YouTube that talk it well. That's important. Just like Richard Friend talks inking well, and a couple other guys talk process well. The resources is there, and that's a good idea. What you guys are thinking about as far as linking people together is what you're talking about. Networking and having sort of a community, and it's a virtual community, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, and the big thing too is so actually I do marketing for my other business, and one of the hardest things when jumping into this venture is trying to figure out when you're selling somebody, say like it's a weight loss supplement, it's pretty easy to sell it. Goal, objective, tool. But with basically anything that's comic book related, the goal is escapism. It's to get away from everything. But now it's like, how do you find out who likes what? Because a lawyer and the garbage man might like the same comic book, right? So you have to figure out how to get to such a large audience and basically just spread the word of as many things as you can and hopefully figure out what sticks. So it's a very interesting venture to go on.
Yeah, let me mention Joseph White here. He's one of our talented creators at IndieCom TV. He created that logo that you've seen that's animated.
Yeah.
He did that from scratch to finish, all by himself. He's very talented. He's a comic book artist. Dude, there's really nothing he can't do. He puts his mind to it, and he can do anything. So why don't you tell him what you do and who you are, Joe?
All right. You guys can hear me all right now? I come through?
Oh, he's there. I saw that he unmuted himself, but I can't hear him. Now he's muted again.
I wonder if he's having some kind of issues.
Well,
yeah, let's not have. Well, Joe's working with. We're working behind the scenes together, obviously, to try to. Like, I do the recruiting. Joe makes sure he does, takes care of contacting everybody. That's part of it. We have, it started with about 25 comic creators. To be honest, these guys were in comics. Some of them had books that have been successful. Some of them had books that were out. Some of them were beginning their books, and some of them were from other communities. Because there's sort of a divide between Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And I got some Kickstarter guys to come join us. Vince Bruzio with Pussycats, his book is a sci-fi book about Area 51.
Which, by the way, that's what he should be doing. Is if he does Facebook ads, he should be targeting the crap out of that one page, the Area 51 raid.
Right. Yeah, he has been using the hashtag, and he used it in the campaign that just recently launched. But he's just another one of those guys that we brought on who has also years of experience, having worked at Diamond for about 25 years.
Ooh.
And we got there's a bunch of guys, but they're not. See, what we're finding is they're not YouTubers. It takes nobody's out to be a star, right? Sometimes these kids or these people, they become absolutely famous and make a lot of money on YouTube, and we're not trying to do that. We're just trying to get these guys to realize, hey, this channel will grow if it has some kind of content every day. If somebody sees, because no matter who does something, I'm the one handling and Joe handling the sharing and the embedding and all that into all these social media stuff. We'll get it seen, and so if there's anyone out there that wants to be a part of IndieCom TV that is willing to do YouTube, create content videos, whether they just have to be sort of not comic centric but geek centric. They have to be, whether they're reviews of movies or like hot topics having to do with related stuff, even some gaming. If you want to do that, and even if you want to be comedic at it, we'd love to have you, because that's kind of what we realize now is, yeah, we had 20 some odd individuals who are part of it, but they're reluctant to know what to do, and they're having a little bit of trouble getting going. Now some guys are going and they're doing really good. We got Preston Polton, who's doing an excellent job at reviews. We got John Dillard, who does sort of I'll draw your OC and sort of in my style. So he's got kids sending them crayon drawings, and he's turning them into these beautiful pieces of art. And
that's awesome.
He's very talented. He's one of the other talented people sort of behind the scenes, really doing a lot. That's John Dillard at Dillard Draws. He has his own channel where he has tons of content. He is really in this to make a name for himself, and his webtoon is already up. It's already up. It's called Cosmonaut.
Cosmonaut sounds familiar. I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah. Hey Joe, can you guys hear me now? You want to speak now? I can almost hear him. Can you guys almost hear him?
One second, let me turn up his volume real quick. Oh, I heard static that time. Nope. Okay, you tried turning it on and off again.
Maybe come out and come back in.
Yeah, the link should still work if you just close the tab. Yeah, there you
go. So, any questions you guys have for what we're doing over at IndieCom TV?
Well, one of the questions was, what is it all about? But you pretty much said that.
Pretty much nailed it.
So where do you see IndieCom TV in like the next 5 years?
Well, you know what? We hope to be a little bit more diversified than we are now, right? We're planning a Space Coast to Coast type show where the person we're interviewing is interviewed by an animated character who's called Captain Independence. So that's in the back. Joe's actually working on that behind the scenes. And we also, 5 years from now, we hope to have a big number of subscribers, because I know this will evolve, right? And it'll also revolve. I've been saying that from day one. We'll have people who kind of come and go. They'll use it for when it's beneficial for them, right? They might have a campaign, and it might be a 60 campaign. So maybe they'll do 3 months with us, and then when it's done, they'll probably go. And that's fine. That's why it was built. It's not a gated community. It's an open door policy. You can come back, you can go. We're not tied to any of the agendas out there. We're not tied to any movements. This is pure entertainment from independent level. Granted, some of the reviews done by Preston Poulter are of DC and Marvel Comics, and that's fine too, because you know what? You're trying to target as many people as you can. That's the thing. If you want to sell something, you want to sell a hamburger to a vegetarian on cheat day, and that's
Yeah,
Yes.
I like it. Trying to-
You want to say that again? Just say that again.
you want to sell a hamburger to a vegetarian on cheat day.
Yeah.
That way,
I'm gonna take that.
you're
I'm
getting-
gonna
Let's give me the
take
title.
that.
Let's give me the title of the podcast.
So that way you're not splitting up your audience right out of the gate. You're not part of CG, you're not part of this, you're not part of that. And we wanted to create a home for that, where everyone was welcome. We're not out tipping any windmills or talking about any kind of politics or an agenda. That stuff is really not meant for comics. It's really just escapism, right?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Yeah.
We want to get it back to that adventure. My book Ignition is such a Peter Parker from the 80s. You know, Peter Parker was Spider-Man. He had 100 problems, but being Spider-Man wasn't one of them, right? And that's
99 problems with Spider-Man ain't one of them.
Yeah. Ignition has 1,000 problems, but being Ignition isn't one of them. And that's the story of Ignition.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys. I didn't mean to.
Oh, we hear you.
Yeah, I unplugged my preamp on accident. So
It's all good. What was the question we had?
it was just what I do. I think I'm just a comic book artist. Been doing comic books for off and on for about 10 years now, and I met Todd about almost a year ago. And we decided to do the IndieCom TV together, and ever since then, it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm just the guy behind the scenes, talking to people and making some cartoons. We got a cartoon coming out. We're going to start doing a Space Ghost style interview show for our channel, which is a lot of fun. And our first guest is going to be the guy who created Earthworm Jim, Doug Tnaple.
That's awesome.
But yeah, thanks for having me on the show, and I'm sorry for the technical problems. But
It's all right. It's only episode 5. We're still getting used to it.
Yeah.
I think our second podcast we had, or no, it was our third podcast, right? Technically, it was our third podcast. We had a bar pop up on the window of the recording, and it stayed there the whole time, and we didn't know. So it's like right in the middle of the window.
oh, that's perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
So no, we've had worse.
Yeah. But no, IndieCom TV, it's a great place for anybody who enjoys comic books or loves creating anything within the realm of geekdom. They can stop by and check out what's going on. We're trying to give it the feel of an actual network, to where you have a big, broad, range of variety. So we're hoping to have cartoons, interview shows, skits, all kinds of fun little things. Because you don't really see that around YouTube anymore. A lot of it's this like drama-oriented type stuff,
Yeah, you don't see the what's it called? What was that Joe cartoon? Like those messed up cartoons back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that used to be like the entirety of the internet until like 2008. It was like 2009, something like that.
Yeah, that's the war of this generation is drama on YouTube. So, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're really excited about the whole thing. And I sound kind of low right now. I just woke up. I forget that Todd's 2 hours ahead of me, so I almost missed the show.
Oh, so where are you both from?
I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so you're in our time zone.
Yeah, I'm in Denver, Colorado. So
Nice.
That's the thing about the virtual community is like the Coffee Akihabara show is hosted by Chester Busby, who's out of Japan, who does a great job on his own channel, and that's why I really want him to do something. So I got him to commit to an hour a week to do a interview type show, and lining up guests for him is my job, and that's the thing about this. This is a community, And the veil, like I used to talk about, why do YouTube? Why is Ethan Van Sciver telling me I have to do YouTube? And I kind of figured it out. It's like you're breaking the veil between the creator and his work and you. Whereas you used to be able to maybe go see him at a convention or whatever, and you'd go, oh, I really love your work, and you sign my book. Well, now it's even a little different. You can ask me questions while I'm drawing. You can get to know me. I let you in a little bit on the process, and I'll try to teach along the way. That's kind of what I do. I try to talk it like I know it, whether I do or don't. And I'm a digital artist, so I talk a lot about Clip Studio and stuff like that. And that's what I was doing on my channel, right? Because I began it when I was coloring a children's book. And so that's what I started with was, okay, I'm going to just do this live because this isn't really my audience, but I'll figure it out as I go. And it's, it kind of worked for a while. I didn't really stick to it, but I get the idea of it because it's all about community and it's all about these relationships and sort of having, like me and Joe, like he said, it's fun, right? Why is it fun? Because we do this all day. We hang out and people come and they go and we have laughs and we go and we do things like crash other shows and start talking. We have a couple of accounts and we'll just start talking like, oh my God, hey, look who's in here. Hey, it's Joe, and so we have a little fun with it. We're trying to get our name out there, right? And we're trying to get subscribers. So we try to think of ways every day that while we're working, because we're drawing all the time, especially Joe. Joe's drawing 16 hours a day. I probably draw 6 hours a day. But the other part of the time is trying to think about this channel and growing it and thinking about this community. And sort of like me, I'm always looking for new people. I'm a little hesitant to ask people that have a lot of subscribers because I don't want them to think I'm asking them because I need them. I want them to know that, eventually we'll get there. So anybody that, like I said, it's not gated. Anybody that wants to come, if you have, something that you can bring original to the programming, ideally, hey, if it ran 24/7, great. That was like when he said a network, we are trying to create sort of a network. We're trying to create something that's on and you can go to. Maybe there's some live talk. Maybe there's some roundtable talk. Maybe the animation stuff, a game show. We want to do a game show or two game shows probably. So those things are all in the works in the background. And we do have fun because you know what? It is a lot of laughs.
We're starting to have too much fun though. We got to get back to work.
No, that's awesome. I was actually going to say, I was just pulling it up. Definitely, do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
No.
So I would definitely recommend looking him up. He is a social media marketer who started a business back in 2000. I want to say like 13 is when his business started. Is that yeah, somewhere around there. But basically, if you're a big wine drinker, you might know him as the wine guy from Wine Library TV. But he basically he was it immigrated? Yeah, there you go. Immigrated from where was he from? Somewhere Belarus. There, yeah, from Belarus over in the Soviet Union during like the Cold War time. And when he came over here, his dad, small immigrant family, couldn't make much money. His dad ends up saving up some money, buys a discount liquor store, and when he's growing up, this whole time he's this little entrepreneur selling like lemonade, but not like one stand. Like he's got 7 stands and he's paying his friends to run them, right? So it's just some little, he's crazy. Like he just is. He's always had like this entrepreneurial knack. And what happened was when he saw the internet come out, he's like, oh, right. And he ended up creating a YouTube channel and talking about wine. And he did it in the most authentic way where he was just like, oh, this tastes like bubblegum, right? As opposed to like, oh, the fragrance of whatever in it, right? So he did that way back before anyone else was doing it. And he took his dad's company, which his dad had built it up to $3 million a year, which obviously isn't profit, but it's, the revenue coming in. And I think he grew it to $60 million a year.
Wow.
And yeah, so he rapidly. So then what happened was after he saved up a bunch of money, he ended up moving to New York City because he didn't own any part of the company because that's not how like immigrant families work. He ends up moving to New York City, starting his own company, and now he has the fastest growing it's not even digital marketing. It's the fastest growing marketing company in the world right now. It's growing faster than any other marketing company has ever grown previously either. And he talks about a big concept, which is document over create. And so instead of trying to create content, you should just be documenting everything and then see what people think about it, right? Test it. Maybe people love it. Like, it's so funny. I have a channel for myself for Instagram and one for my business. We have one for this business. In my personal channel, I just take pictures of what I do every day. Like, one thing I've created a habit of is making my bed every day as a self-development thing, right? And then I take a picture of my breakfast because I eat like a healthy breakfast every day. And one day I didn't post. I got a message from somebody and they're like, "Hey, you all right?" Like, people are watching all the time and you don't realize it, to your point earlier. And so I figured I'd mention that, but that's a huge reason why YouTube is big. Is one thing that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about is people try to create content and they're like, I want people to read it from a comic book store, or I want them to watch it on, HBO. And it's like, don't try to put it where you want to see it. Put it so others can find it. And so he has like a whole book. Actually, yeah, ironic for starting it. Jab, 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 right hook. And the entire concept is just creating content for each of the platforms, so that, like, if you just write a blog on your page and you're like, I'm not going to put it on Medium because it's going to mess with my SEO, right? It's like, no, like, if people don't go to your website and they do go to Medium, give it to them on Medium. That's where they read all their other blogs, right? Why are you going to make them have to do something inconvenient when you're the one looking for their attention, right? And so that's like a huge concept. And then the thing you were mentioning earlier made me think of this other book. You're talking about, hopping into chats and being like, oh my God, look, Joe's here. And there's this book called Guerrilla Marketing. And that's what that is. It's like, just getting in there. Like, I've seen there's a company in California who they paid a bunch of kids to pretend like they won I think it was like a hockey game for their region. And so they went on TV and like they went right up to what's the Good Morning America, whatever channel, ABC, something. I see that.
In New York.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, no, I'm saying, but the company was in California, but they did it. They sent kids here and they're holding up jerseys like they won this hockey thing. But the city that they were talking about was in a TV show that was about to be released. So it was like people, and they thought that they won. They gave the anchor a jersey, and he's all excited about it. Had no idea it was a made-up city, but it was based off of this show that was going to come out, and so that name was in the back of people's head. Right? So like that's the type of like crazy guerrilla marketing tactics you can get into when you really dive deep into it. And it was like a pension arbitrage. You're just trying to get everywhere, regardless of how other people might view it. Like, don't care what they think. You're just trying to get people to see something. If they don't like it, that's fine. There's 8,000 other things they can look at in the next 15 seconds by just scrolling past. You just want to get that one person who does want to see it, and that's who you're looking for.
Yeah, we're really trying to figure out the whole YouTube thing as far as creating the right tags and titles and this and that. We're really we do try some things, and we'll see how far we can take it. I'm hoping, like I said, I hope it's a hub where, man, I gotta bring my book over there, and whether you want to get on a show or you want to work with us for a couple of months by creating content, all fine and dandy. You know what I mean? And in that way, you don't feel like you need a particular person, right? You don't feel like you need, geez, if I don't get on that guy's show, I might not get funded. No, you know what? Let's get as many people into one place where there is no drama, there is no gate, and they'll be able to come and utilize IndieCom TV to the best of their advantage, because it is what you make of it, right? And granted, we have some guys that are slow going and they haven't gotten started yet, and we have some guys really getting out of the gate and have already perfected it and figured it out. So, it'll always be like that. It'll always be like that. There'll be plenty of people who raise their hand and say, oh, I want to do it. And then the fear of coming live or the fear of something will always sort of get a hold of them, and they'll just sort of cower into the corner because they're afraid of something that's really not there. You I don't care if there's a million people watching or one person watching. You're just communicating to that person, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's all a figment, but you're trying to communicate your idea or your project or whatever it is that you're trying to get them to look at, and you're just trying to communicate to that person, one person. And then if there's 100 people watching, great for you. And if there's only one person watching, you talk to that one person like he's your buddy, and he'll believe in what you're trying to do with whatever book. Now, not every book is for everybody, right? So you might have that person who he comes one time and goes, I'm not into sci-fi. Then he's gone. That's fine. But if you have enough other content and other type books, that's why if IndieCom becomes 100 people, fine. That's all the better, And that's what we're hoping to do eventually. 5 years down the road, that's what I'd love. That it just is a self-sustaining system for marketing, cross-marketing. Originally we really wanted everyone to talk about whoever was campaigning at the time, and you see, if you watch some of Preston's videos, he talked a little bit about Shinobi Sasquatch, which was in demand at the time. So we've laxed up a little bit on some of those things, but those things will really be part of the channel. That there'll be plenty of mentions by other people doing content of a book that you might be part of, but you're not doing content that day, right? That's the other thing is to try to help each other out, to be a community for each other.
That's great. Yeah, there's actually a article you should check out. It's been highly popularized in the entrepreneur community, and it's called 1,000 True Fans.
Always thinking
Basically, it's by Kevin Kelly, who's a serial entrepreneur, but it's been referenced by. Have you ever heard of a book called The 4-Hour Workweek?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's like the entrepreneur's, Bible start, I think it was written in 2009. And since then there's been, several hundred or thousand entrepreneurs who are now millionaires after reading that book and really applying all of its rules. And one of the things that same author, he's written 5 other best-selling books, but he basically talks about, he's preached multiple times on his podcast and on several other platforms about that one article, the 1,000 True Fans. And the entire concept is that if you can capture 1,000 true fans, and what they mean by a true fan is someone who is willing to buy everything or anything and everything that you ever produce ever, right? And if you get 1,000 true fans, that's enough for you to have a sustainable, have whatever it is that you're trying to do, create a lifestyle for you, be able to actually make a living. You might not be able to get super wealthy, but you can definitely make a lot of money. Because if you think about it, if you could just sell $100 worth of product a year, but you have 1,000 people that are going to buy it no matter what every single time, you're getting $100,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the concept, and it's super powerful. And instead of there's so many people that are like, my comic book is for everybody. And it's like, your comic book is going to fail. That's that if your comic book is for everyone, it's for no one. You need to have it for a specific set of people. The comic books that we've seen be super successful are the ones that are like, this isn't for everyone, and then they start talking about it. And then the second they said that, there's somebody who's like, I like this interesting thing that's just for me, right? And that's the whole concept, is that you can. That's the reason why we're trying to help, like you were saying, cross pollinate and be like, hey, all you 100,000 people that we might have grabbed your attention at one point, here's a comic, and maybe there is 1,000 people in that audience that might like this comic, and then we pull up another one that's totally different, right? Like the sci-fi versus fantasy versus superheroes, right? We got so having that different sample audience to pull from will hopefully be very impactful. And then that's when you get stuff for YouTube. You should have playlists that are based on genres so that people can, basically follow a playlist rather than just the whole channel. And that's a great way to capture much larger audiences.
Yeah, we have been about that when we began, as far as creating different playlists, as far as hitting a demographic, because I really wanted to get I really want to hit the young demographic, and I've been trying to actually get some young YouTubers to join and do content for us, because that's really my daughter watches about 6 to 7 hours of YouTube a day. way more than I ever have or ever would. So there's something to be said about that demographic too, right? Because eventually they might be consumers. They may consume this video or this kid's, whatever he's doing, race cars or slot racing or whatever he's doing. They may not be consumers yet, but they may be consumers a year from now or 2 years from now.
We have still yet to draw straws on who's going to wear the purple dinosaur outfit.
No, it's funny too, because at my place we have my cousin who's my roommate. He got this really nice router, so it has a bunch of different bandwidths. We can pull stuff like, because I do like gaming and stuff like that, and so does he. So we're able to separate it, but it also tracks internet flow. And he told me one day, he's like, "Yo, look at this," and he showed me my internet usage, and it was like 2/3 YouTube. And I was like, "Oh," and that makes sense, because like that's like I'll do work and I'll just have YouTube in the background all the time. Like I'll be listening, like he knows, like I'll be listening to various channels, just consuming content while I'm like typing away at something. Yeah, or stand-up comedy. Yeah, I watch that a lot too. So it's just like, like that's the thing, is you want to find someone who, like, that's that 1,000 true fans. You want to find someone who, it doesn't matter what they're doing. They heard you're doing something new. They're leaving work early that day to go get the thing that you told them.
Let's face it, YouTube is personal and intimate, right? Because when you watch Doug TenNapel every day inking Earthworm Jim, and he's saying hi to his wife and the kids, and this one's off to camp, you're in his living room almost. You're getting to know him. You know what? What he's trying to do is give you not just a comic, right, but a book that you want to put on your shelf. And there's something to be said about that too, because if you're going to crowdfund, right, and you're going to crowdfund a floppy, a 20 or 40 page floppy, $25 is a lot of money to ask, and $25 is kind of that shipping limit and all that. So you're actually getting your money for everything that it costs, because granted, this costs money, right, to crowdfund a book when you're going to go in and you're going to fulfill it and all that. So really, it's it has to be kind of thought out differently. You have to look at the people that are doing it successfully, like Brian Polito of Coffin Comics, and do what Doug TenNapel's been talking about a little bit in the community, as far as, if you give them something that they can treasure, a collectible, you might get them to buy 2 or 3, because they go, well, it costs a lot. If I buy 3, I save a little bit of money, and I'll sell that one because he signed it on eBay, and I'll be able to get his next one. Very smart. Very smart idea.
Yeah, no, it's funny. There's another guy I follow. That poster back there is from their comic. It's IT Comics. It's called Neon Future. Have you heard of Neon Future?
That image looks familiar.
Oh, not that one. Yeah, that's right back there. It's right here.
Okay. Yeah, that image is also.
Yeah, this is Steve Aoki. He partnered with the company IT Comics to create an entire comic book brand, and I saw them in New York City during New York Comic Con, and because of that, I bought like all of their comics. I have one that's signed by the artist, the artist, the writer, the creator, and the founder of the company. So it's like I have a bunch of signatures on it. Like that's awesome. I'm not gonna read that one, so I had to get another one. And so it's like, yeah, you're right. Like that's the whole point. If you get somebody who's truly interested in what you're doing, like, yeah, they're gonna want all of it. And back to that being in the living room thing. That's why another big platform you should definitely check out is Instagram and IGTV, because that's been getting huge. Like there's a marketer named Seth Godin. He is one of like the world-renowned marketers for like the last, 20, 30 years. He's, for example, one thing he's been doing is writing a blog a day every day for like the last 12, 14 years, something like that. And so he's been perfecting his writing and all of that. And he refused to be on any other social media. He had no social media accounts. He only had his one website, and that was it. And this year he opened up on Instagram. So if the marketing god who is like, let everyone come to you, all of a sudden it creates an Instagram account, I was watching that. I was like, oh, that's huge. And specifically, he's on Instagram Live, like when you pop your phone up, do some artists, he'll do Q&A with people. You see, for him, because he's never been on any platform before, he's finally on one where you can engage with him. You walk in there and you're like, oh, there's 10 people. Oh, there's 10,000 people. Wait, what happened? Like, it just instantly, the crowd fills in there because people are waiting for him. And so that's the thing. Like, if someone like that finds that platform useful, that's the reason why I would definitely recommend that for video platform.
IG or IG.
IGTV. It's through Instagram. Yep, but yeah, it's the IGTV platform. Like, even for me, I did a couple videos where I just discussed one of the books that I've read, and after doing a couple videos of that, I jumped up like 100 followers without doing any like actively trying to like message people or chat with people. Like, it was very quick. And it's just the fact that well, first off, Instagram wants people to use it, so their algorithm will promote that more than a standard post. So that right there is a huge benefit, and that benefit won't last forever. That's another thing that Gary Vaynerchuk, that guy I was talking about earlier, he always talks about, like, go all in on these platforms that are working now, because they're really not. Yeah, like Facebook went like this, and now it's going to be going like this for a while, and it's going to be going down. It's not like it's going to crash. Like, it could, but it's not like it's going to just crash overnight. It's more like it's already hit its peak where you paid like a penny to reach 10,000 people. Now it's not that anymore. You got to pay much more. But the thing is, it's going to slowly cost more, and you're going to slowly reach less the longer it goes on. And so by getting on those other platforms sooner, that's the best way to do it. Like, same with YouTube. That's why the people that were on there in 2006, 2009, those are some of the people that have like millions of subscribers, is because they were on there early. And then what people do is they're like, oh no, I wasn't on in 2009, so I'll never get that many followers. So then they don't get on at all. And it's like, no, the point is get on there as soon as possible. Like, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. Like, don't wait to do it.
And since you're trying to get the young demographic, another good platform you could actually use that would definitely help is Snapchat.
Oh yeah.
Use Snapchat.
Like, yes. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like, I hate it, but yeah, if you want a young audience, that's 13 to 18. Instagram is 18 to 30, 25. Yeah, it's 18 to 25 or 25 to 18 to 35, something like that. And then Facebook is like 35 to 55. Yeah, and then all the other ones.
I think you guys know, people get videos on Instagram. Now you can get up to a 10-minute video.
Yeah.
Minutes, you can't put it on, but if it's under 10 minutes, you can put it on. Now, I didn't even know that until the day I first did it. And then I didn't know you could do that. I thought you couldn't do that. And I was like, well, I figured it out. I figured out how to do it. And it's actually, you know what, a lot of our videos, granted, it doesn't count for YouTube, but if a lot of our videos have gotten a lot of views just on Instagram, and we don't even have that many followers. So it's something I'm definitely going to have to work on, this whole IGTV thing.
And just stories in general. So Instagram stories, Facebook stories, just content.
Yeah, little snippets here and there. That's like what Facebook and Instagram stories are all about, is just being like, oh, here's like a snapshot of me halfway through a drawing. And then it's like, hey, what do you think? Right? Like, you just little snippets of engagement. But yeah, it's the hey, look, I'm following them around as they go through their day. And that's the whole point, is you're their escapism, right? They get to be like, oh, what would it be like to be an artist? Or what would it be like to, see behind the scenes? And like, that's the thing that all of these platforms have done for people. And that's the whole document versus create. Instead of going out there and trying to make a movie, some people are way more fascinated about how you made the movie.
Right. Yeah, we talk about, why don't we just go live while we're doing this? Or why don't we just do this while we're doing it? Or make Joe's already been taking his Bandicam and setting it up and recording everything he's doing and stuff like that. Yeah, it is smart. You're right. It's a good way to just create some content, because you never know who's going to appeal to. You never know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I play video games. I used to play a lot of them, but after like getting into, all of this business stuff, I dialed down a lot. And then my little brother ends up going into the Marines. And so the only way I can spend time with them is to play video games with them online. So I told him one day, I'm like, I can't justify playing all these games all the time because it's eating away my time. And he's in a different time zone, so it has to overlap at poor timing. And so I go, you know what? I'm going to start a Twitch channel. And that way, at least I'm building up something. Even if it never makes any money, if I can somehow, make it, worthwhile, then I can remove that, like, feeling bad that I'm hanging out with my brother, right? Because that's the only thing I can do. And I think it was 2 days ago, I just became an affiliate on Twitch, and now I can get paid to play video games. Like, that's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's nothing for money. It's very, very small amount, but it could be enough that maybe it buys me lunch for dinner once a month or something like that. I just say,
my son wants your job.
But it's funny. Like the only reason I was even able to do it to that extent was so like I worked as an engineer for 4 years. I slowly built up a marketing company on the side, and now that's what I do full time. And then I basically do this on the side because this isn't paying any bills yet. But so that's how I did that, and because of that, I have all this. I can work whenever I want and from wherever I want. And so because of that, when I go to play video games, my little brother's in Japan right now. So I might hop on at like 2:00 in the morning to play with him. And so it's like, I have to, and so because of that, I have a unique scenario where like I have people from like England watching me play games and then joining the lobby being like, hey, where are you guys from? I'm like, oh, I'm from America. They're like, oh, that makes sense. Where is this guy? He's like, oh, he's in Japan. And it's like, that's incredible that I'm playing with people all across the world. And now it's to the point where I can actually make money doing it, even if it's just a small amount. And even if I put it all back into it, where like I just buy nicer camera equipment or nicer sound equipment, things like that, it's just, it's a fun way to justify a hobby.
Yeah, I got sucked in for about a year of Rainbow Six Siege, and
oh my God,
my drawing suffered.
Yeah.
But then again, I created a community. Some people who I talk to almost daily, I kind of miss, and so I do contact them other ways. But they're always asking me, "Hey, you gonna come back?" And come back, and go. If I come back, I'm gonna get sucked in, and even though that game's already like 3, 4, 5 years old, I'm just gonna want to play it all over again, or even the newest game, whatever that is. So it can, to me, it was a great thing community-wise, but a time suck.
I forced myself to put it to the weekend now because I kept having I got a couple of really good friends on there I play on PlayStation. I have a couple of really good friends on there now that like they'll message me all the time like, when you getting on? And like one's from North Carolina, one's from San Diego, right? So they're like all over the country. But it was funny because when I stream, I do live video, and this is still my backdrop. I'm just a little clay. My TV's over there. And it's funny because I actually had somebody who I was chatting with for a while asking me about the books, and we were playing video games. So I even connected over stuff like this because I was playing video games randomly with people. So yeah, you can make some amazing connections. And that's the same with comics. I was saying earlier, it's so hard to find your fans because your fans could be a lawyer, they could be a doctor, or they could be the guy that's sweeping the streets. Like you have no idea where your fans might be hiding, and that's why it's good to make as much content as possible on as many platforms as possible so that it's accessible by anybody from anywhere.
It's funny how you bring up the books again. Now you have a bookshelf for a reason, because those books mean something to you, and they're like a vacation that you want to go back to at some point on some day. And that's why we have bookshelves, is to put those things up there, because that was, whether it was hours or weeks or days of fun or enjoyment, or like yours, a lot of them are learning and marketing and stuff like that. You're going to revisit them, whether because there's something you don't want to ever forget, or just an adventure you always want to have. And making good books, comics in this community is very important. If we can get the people who buy superheroes in mainstream comics to just open up a little bit and realize there's a lot of good comic books out there that aren't being done by Marvel or DC. You just have to be willing to try them. Some of them may be a little bit more expensive because they're crowdfunding, but if you try them, trust me, you'll like them. Now, I don't even read anything that is any more superheroes done by mainstream comics anymore, because it's already been done. To me, it's everything is like, I've already read this. This has already been done. This is nothing new to me.
Recycled.
So,
basically.
right.
Yeah.
My favorite books over the last 2 or 3 years were like Velvet, Lark, Black Monday Murders, Sword Daughter. Those are my top 4 or 5 books that I read over the last couple of years, and they're the books I preach all the time, because there's good stuff out there. Granted, I've read a lot of independent books, but there's still stuff being done by guys that did work at Marvel and DC that is being done either at Image or somewhere else, and it's still good. They still produce good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We like totally tangent. What's this one? I know we tangent off all the questions we had, so that's good. That's how you know we're having fun.
So,
Yeah,
question for you guys. You guys make comic books?
Yeah, that's what this guy is right here. I keep in the backdrop. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The cover artist is from Chicago. He's
New Leaf Comics.
New Leaf Comics. He was the episode on our podcast where that block was on the screen the entire time.
Yeah, so I get when they show.
Did you
We're
guys have trouble crowdfunding those comics?
so I paid for this comic through my paychecks. So yeah, it was a lot of money.
Oh, really good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So the lettering is getting redone because he lettered it, and there was like a letter. I was first asking for a letterer, like a while ago, like back in like April or March, and then I was like, I just want the comic out. So he's like, I'll letter it, and I was like, all right. This is gonna go one or two ways, and
Pretty well, huh?
It's not bad. It could have been worse.
so I got a couple reviews. One review was by my friend that has a blog called effectivenerd.com. It's all indie, like anything indie. So you could check that blog out. But he reviewed our comic, and the only thing bad he said was the lettering. And then Hector of New Leaf Comics, he said the only thing that was like that needed a little work was the lettering, because some of the letters or words are a little
Too close to
the bubbles. And then there's another guy that just said something, because we are doing a Kickstarter for this book, but we're making a deluxe edition. And with the deluxe edition, there's going to be 6 more pages, and so 6 more pages of story, and the lettering is getting redone by a guy that actually lettered one of my favorite indie comics right now. It's called Broke Down and 4 Dead Bodies. I don't know if you heard of it.
No, I haven't.
Travis Gibb is the writer.
Can't tell if Todd froze.
Yeah, I don't know.
That he's really good at not moving.
Sorry, I'm going through it right now.
No problem.
So
yeah, I built that website too. It's functional.
a lot of people like the website.
I put it together so that it worked. I still have a lot of work I have to do on it, but yeah, at least it's functional. That was my goal.
So we're launching our Kickstarter for the deluxe edition. Yeah, you went away. September 2nd. So we're giving the preview link to like a bunch of different creators and like people that actually were successful on Kickstarter. And I'm like, so what can I change on this story page or whatever so it looks better? And they're actually giving me like pointers. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. Did you guys write it?
I wrote it. I wrote the entire trilogy of that.
He wrote basically 1,000-page book a year or 2 years ago.
No, it was way
The book. Sorry, that was 5 years ago. Yeah. But about 2 years ago, he broke it down into a screenwrite, like how you would what's it called? Storyboarding. Like he wrote it out like that without the images. And essentially, after taking those, first we had those drawn by a comic, he had them drawn by a comic artist that was probably a year and a half ago. Yeah. And it wasn't, I look it over and I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. And then I look over because I didn't know what he had handed to him, and we were looking, it's like, oh, this is like a storyboard. When you create a storyboard, each of those is like an animated section, but you can't animate a comic book when it's in print, right? And so I was like, okay, let's take each of these panels or each of these storyboards and break them into panels so that we can actually illustrate what's going on. So we actually had the comic book drawn up at one point, and it wasn't like the artwork was terrible. It wasn't where we wanted to go with it eventually, anyways. But it didn't make any sense, and not because of the artist. It was because you can't capture a moving section in a single panel, and that's kind of what kept happening. Is we had multiple scenes where like 6 things were happening, and it's like you can't do that in a comic book panel.
Right.
Yeah. So that was probably 8 months ago that we had this started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then the physical printed one was about 8 months ago. We had this started. When did we print them?
May.
Yeah.
This year.
How many pages is it?
This one is.
You should get these numbers.
I
think I remember.
I think it's 19.
It's something like that.
Because the 6 more pages is like 24/5 pages. So I think there's.
Cool. It looks like a lot of fun, and I hope you guys succeed at crowdfunding this book.
Yeah, I would like that very much. Because how I write is sort of like there's a movie going on in my head for this entire story, and then he's like, "Wow, you write more like if you were like a director for like a movie. Now write like you're an actual writer."
Yeah, basically. He comes up with like a really good plot line, and I'm like, that's awesome, but you're like jumping around missing these little segments where like if you're watching a movie or reading a comic, all of those sections are important. And so then I would just go through and nitpick, and I'm like, dive deeper here, dive deeper here, dive deeper here. And then after a few renditions, it ends up being pretty good. And then what we do is we finally break it down into panels. We realize, oh, there's even more detail that's needed. And so just diving deeper and deeper, it gets really fun.
Did we lose Todd?
Yeah, we definitely lost Todd.
Oh shoot!
You should have like you messaged on Facebook, right?
So this is a recorded show, right? We're not live.
It's live, but it's not. It's recorded. Unlisted. Yeah. It's unlisted. That's basically so. The way that we record it is because we're simpletons. I have my computer over there that has OBS running, and it's watching our Hangouts. You notice how we have our logo in there? You see it? The bottom? Yeah. So that's because we're logged in twice, but it's over on our breaking the fourth wall.
Okay.
Right. But so it's basically recording it through that, and on Anchor, it's we just run them straight through. It's fun. We kind of like the Joe Rogan Experience style. If people start freaking out and yelling at people, that's fine.
Well, I think we're gonna do a live stream here in a little bit, and you guys are more than welcome to come watch if you want to.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be our second live stream as far as just Todd and I on the show, and we're just trying to be really clickbaity with our title and the subject, and we're gonna see how that works out.
Watson joins us.
What is it that you guys are gonna be doing for the live stream?
It's top 10 life-changing tips for comic artists. Number 4 will shock you.
That's so funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We did one yesterday, and it has already about 60 views.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, we were doing that live stream yesterday, and in the chat, someone was like, "Did you guys already pass number 4?" I'm like, "What's this guy? What is he talking about?" I totally forgot our title was a clickbait title, and because it was like top 10 top 10 reasons why comics suck or something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's that guerrilla marketing that you guys are talking about. You know?
yeah, definitely. Like, it's seriously, like, people underestimate it because, I actually, back to Gary Vaynerchuk again, one of the things that he'll do for all of his platforms is he'll periodically make a piece of content that he knows will not do good. And he'll do that a few times because once in a while, and this happened to him, he posted one piece of content he knew wasn't going to do good. It is his biggest piece of content he's ever made.
Huh.
And that's the thing, is people don't realize what people want to see. Like, I study, like, I'd say about a third of the books that I read are on psychology and behavioral economics. And one of the things that people don't realize is when you ask someone what they want on a plane, 90% of the time they want more legroom. But every airline who has ever increased the legroom, and in doing so have to remove seats and therefore increase the cost of the individual seats, not by a lot, but enough to replace those missing seats, every single time those airlines do worse. And so they move the seats back and they make them tight because people are always more willing to pay a lower price for flights than they are willing to pay a slightly more for that better legroom.
Yeah, $5 difference on a plane ticket, you know.
Which is ridiculous because if you think about it, if you're on a plane for 6 hours, $5 should be nothing. You should be like, yes, hell yeah, $5, I want more legroom, right? Like,
right.
And it's probably more like 20 or 30 bucks, but people are still like, no, like that's a ton of money. And it's like, I guess if you're flying every single day, it might be, but like, not a lot of people are flying all the time.
Right.
So it's definitely so when people, what is it? Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, this is one of my favorite books on psychology. It's called Predictably Irrational. There we go. Say all these fun words. And it's all about the fact that people do things completely irrationally, but in a predictable manner. And if you can learn what those are, it's much easier to interact with people.
Oh yeah, there's psychology or marketing to people to get them to buy your stuff, and it's crazy the little things that will turn people off from buying your product. Like if you notice over on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, books that are underneath $20 don't do as well as books that are over $20.
That's interesting. See, that's huge information to know. Like it is funny that ironically, where's that one? I got a book called Smart Price. I really do. I have a book called Smart Pricing, which I can't seem to find at the moment.
There's another thing I noticed about crowdfunding is if you set your goal where it doesn't look like you're going to pay your talent a livable wage, that doesn't do well either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this right here is Smart Pricing. The whole point of this book is essentially talking about how some people, like, you can price things more expensive and people are more likely to buy them.
Yeah,
right? Like, things like that. Like, that's just one technique. But there's a salesman, Grant Cardone. He talks about that all the time, where if he tries to sell somebody a $3,000 product and they don't want it, he's like, oh, I have this other product that's $10,000, right? And the guy's complaint was the money, because people don't realize people make a judgment on emotions first, and then they justify it with logic. So they might justify that your product isn't worth $3,000 based on their emotional feeling that it wasn't worth it to begin with. But if you give them what they really, really, really want, yeah, here's $1 million. I don't care. I want that thing. It's the thing that I want. And so, pricing is all it's all based on value. And yeah, if you charge the right amount and you're not underselling yourself or honestly overselling yourself, then that's how you get people to be interested in it. You don't try to. It's funny because you don't want to maneuver the money to trick them, but it's funny because you actually have to maneuver it to make sure that it's actually the right value. Because if it's not the right value, it will then trick them, because it could be the greatest comic book ever written, but if you charge too little, they might perceptually see it as not as valuable. And so, Really, by not worrying about the money, you're actually tricking people. So it's a very that's why like they're predictably irrational. It's like it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
And that's why my book's gonna be $100 a book.
it's like it's worth so damn much. Like definitely it's be $3,000.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot. Like
Worth it.
on crowdfunding though.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
originally one of you guys contacted me because somebody said, we are trying to do the same thing over here that you're trying to do with IndieCom TV. And I thought, oh, wow, cool. Now, if you ever guys want to do something together, even a live stream, or because there's actually ways to have it be on both live.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. So, you let us know, because we'd love to do stuff like that and sort of create a bigger sphere of what we're trying to reach.
Well, one thing I was thinking of, because you guys are working a lot on YouTube and we haven't, we just honestly haven't had the time or resources to get to that yet. One of the things that we're looking to do, and we don't care who works with it, because we were talking with New Leaf about this, having creators who have gotten to a certain level creating YouTube videos for teaching purposes. And instead of just creating their own channel, which they can feel free to do that. If they wanted to, they can put it on our channel, or they can put it on your channel, because the point isn't to draw attention to just you, is to draw it to the indie community. And so if we get it to the community, so people are aware that, like, that's why we have the hashtag Indie Revolution. We're not trying to make everyone see Sierra Nova Comics. We're trying to get everyone to see, oh, look, there's so many other things that exist, and this is just a pool that I can reach into and grab from, right? And that pool has so many more things than just, the typical Marvel DC, where it's like, you know what you're gonna get. Instead, it's like, wow, like, I didn't realize there's horror comics. Like, if you ask people what a comic book is, right? Yeah, like
before I even started this, I liked comics, but I didn't know there was like ever really horror comics. And I discovered Afterlight Studios. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. It's really good. They have the comic Wendigo Wood, Ghost Island. Ghost Island's like an entrepreneur. It's like Jurassic Park meets horror. So an entrepreneur gets stuck on an island, and he has to like deal with like ghosts on an island. There's a new one called Stay Awake, which is about like sleep paralysis. So it dives into that. There's another one that you just did, but yeah,
that's even just one genre. Like
I love horror.
We have, what is it, historical fiction as well.
Yeah.
Like there's things like that are really entertaining and specifically some people will like way more than others, and they don't even realize that that's in the comic book world too. Like the comic book world could be anything.
Yeah, it's not just super.
Like when I was showing earlier, the IT comics, that's all like cyberpunk, future dystopian stuff. It's not superhero.
Right. Yeah, I one time thought as an idea, because steampunk was so popular, that I would do some kind of comic that was sort of steampunk related. And
if you're ever going to do that, you want to do that before Borderlands 3 comes out and start targeting the people that are interested in that.
Right.
Yeah.
but it's a very technical type of. I like to be detailed, and my drawings are kind of realistic. So doing something like that is like troublesome. Whenever you put a lot of gear and stuff on somebody, that's where I have a little bit of trouble, because then you start manipulating that body to certain angles, and then that gear has to look a certain way to actually fool. You're trying to create an illusion with line, and you've got to try to fool the reader into overcoming any sort of faults of that detail. And really just one of those things where you draw yourself in a corner when things have too much gear, too much line work. The human form I have zero problem with. Human form with clothes on I have zero problem with. But when you start adding packs and bandoleras and guns and pockets and pouches, it's like, that's where I have a little trouble.
Hey, leave those pouches alone, okay? They belong there.
No, it's funny. Yeah, you should. I've seen a lot of people that have done like, the cyberpunk style, and a lot of them I saw draw clocks first, like the inner working of a clock, and like, I mean, like a watch, like all the gears, and just perfecting the drawing of those, because they're so like just the way that they when someone sees that, they just assume mechanical perfection, right? Like that's why it's an art. Like that's why a handmade watch is massively expensive, because it's beautiful, but it also just makes sense, even though most people looking at it couldn't tell you all the stuff going on in there.
Right.
So that's one of the things I've seen where people have drawn that and then switched to cyberpunk, and just been like, oh yeah, look at, like, it just looks beautiful. That's what I want to see.
Any more questions on your list?
Yes, there is. Pull out the window with that. What are some obstacles that you've had as a freelancer, and how do you overcome them?
Wow, freelancing is an obstacle, right? Because you're even in the paying, right? Even in the paying market, you're chasing your money. That's always part of it, right? The obstacle is trying to get the work done, because freelance, you're not getting, okay, granted these aren't Superman and Batman, or if you've always wanted to draw Daredevil, you're drawing something that somebody saw that they liked in you. And for one thing that people always see that they like in my style is my ability to draw clothes, right? To show wrinkles and effective shadows that make the illusion really look real. But then I end up drawing slice of life type stuff. And that's sort of, you got to trudge through that stuff. I got to draw horror for the very first time. I always have turned down horror stuff whenever anyone's ever asked me. I've done a few covers and a few things like that, but I've always turned it down because it's not my wheelhouse, right? So then I won that contest to draw 20 pages in Graveyard Shift 2, and that was tricky, because now I can't turn that down, right? I won a contest. Why would I not want to do something great? In the pay was pretty much good scale, independent or small press scale pay, very in line with sort of IDW and Boom Studios and stuff like that. So the pay was really pretty good. So I had to sort of push myself through that. But I was also picked to do a character because I was good with clothes, and my character was sort of a blend of Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. He was wearing a cellmate suit, a jumpsuit, and just doing the horror. So sometimes you're not doing what you're passionate about or what you love. You're doing a job, and freelance is that. It's a job. You're trying to get enough people to be willing to pay you that you can maybe turn down some things and do some things that you would really like to do. But that's a long, hard road, especially in independent comics, because usually you're picked by somebody because they think you have something that they know you can do their book, right? Yeah. So I'm not getting superheroes, or I'm not getting monsters, or I'm not getting dragons and fairy tale stuff. I'm getting what people see me do a lot of, and now you start to get a little bit pigeonholed. So those are some of the obstacles of freelance. Chasing the money is always one of them, and building a relationship with a writer who realizes this is kind of tricky, that your ideas are, you might be presenting ideas because you've already read and go, I don't think I can pull that off. I don't think I could pull off another train fight on top of a train. Maybe can't we move this to an amusement park? And sort of, the story isn't, you're not changing the story. You're just trying to make something that, I think I could do this better. And sometimes finding the right writer who you kind of synergize with a little bit better, and you guys are in sync, and who's willing to realize, I'm not trying to change anything you're doing. I just want to change the location of it because I don't think I can pull that off yet. I'm always willing to admit as an artist that my talent, I don't have the education level to pull a certain something off, but there are things I can pull off. And it's just finding a writer who's willing to see that you're not trying to screw with his masterpiece, and that you're just trying to make it something as great, but something you can do and be passionate about.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you, Joe? What are your hurdles for freelance?
As far as like walls that we run into.
Yeah. Not
Well, in the beginning, it was finding people who wanted to employ you who weren't serious about, or I shouldn't say that didn't know how to run a business. And so you get, like, if someone doesn't know how to run a business and they employ you, like, as an employee, you start taking on all those, hurdles and pains of a new business, just as much as your employer does. Right now, being a freelancer, it's how saturated the market is. Everybody and their dog is trying to make a comic book right now, and so it's having to cut down your pay, just to keep busy. But if you're smart and you're a comic book artist, you're going to want to make your own stuff, right? You don't want to work with anybody else anymore. But I mean, that doesn't mean you don't hire your writers or your graphic designers or anything like that. But I mean, there's just all this opportunity to make your own book and sell it to your own personal fans. As an artist, it's really easy to get fans because you have a visual medium and you can show them what you're able to do. But yeah, that's what I would say was for the hurdles of freelancing. But sorry if that wasn't amusing.
Owning your work is something that we keep hearing. A lot of it's probably why a lot of the pros are finding that the market is shrinking, right? DC cut their books down to 50 books or something, and a lot of those guys, for instance, like Aaron Lopresti, who's doing Garbage Man, these guys are coming to the indie market, and now you have actual pro competition. I think I've been hearing that Sean Gordon Murphy is going to crowdfund next year a book. This is a guy who's, to me, is really on the top of his game as far as doing great storytelling and exquisite work. So this is if you're here to get, it's like we talked about money. This is not a get rich scheme. This is hard work, low pay, passion. You gotta love it. You gotta trudge through it sometime. Sometimes it's a grind. Sometimes it's like you go into sort of a depression because you haven't. If you're inking or if you're penciling and inking your own work, it took me till about. I had 60 days to do Graveyard Shift 2, 20 pages. I couldn't start until 10 days in because I was working on another crowdfunder. And so I ended up only with 50 days. I was really, it was really getting to me in my head. I was kind of having a little bit of trouble. Actually, the first 3 pages are the best, right? And then the middle is really, it's good. It's good. And then there's a couple pages near the end where I really wish I could redo
those last pages hurt the worst sometimes.
Right. Because the writer got a little bit, he's a really good writer, name is Von Kloss. He has a book that's called Monster MD, and it got a little repetitive because I had that guy, I had the monster who didn't run after people, who the people made mistakes as they were running away, right? Oh, I got to jump in this car, and this car won't start. So he's just walking and lumbering forward. And he's eventually going to get to you. Right. So he's eventually going to get to you, and that's what I had. So I had 6 people I had to kill, all in that way. And it was just really, really got repetitive for me to go, how do I make this interesting? And if I had it to do all over again, if I had it to do all over again, there's a lot of things I would do differently. But it's a learning experience. Again, I would, if horror comes my way, I'm gonna go back to turning it down. Put it that way.
That's funny. Actually, yeah, this is a book I read recently, The War of Art. It's by was it Stephen Pressfield? Mm-hmm. It's all about just trudging through because he has something called the resistance, which is just that thing that prevents you from starting your work and from finishing it, and it fights you the whole way through it. But it does talk about like, you know, how to get started is one of the hardest, but even to finish is sometimes harder. Like getting through that last page, it's just like, just look, distraction, anything else but the thing I'm trying to do right now.
Yep. I've always been, you know, one thing that I've stressed here at home and trying to do this as a business is I have to meet my deadline. It doesn't matter what the case is, because you miss one deadline at this level that I'm at, that could ruin your ability to do this for good.
Dad, I broke my leg. Take yourself to the hospital. Jeez, I'm working.
I had some work for Zenoscope that was 8 pages I had to do in 12 days. And that meant I had to, and it was sort of it was a Halloween special, and I had to draw all of the characters, the 4 main girls, Robin Hood, Lizelle, who's like the vampire hunter, and I forget the 2 other girls, and I had to draw 4 of them. I had the sequences, like they were telling ghost stories, so they were dishing out candy on the steps. And each individual character would go into her own ghost story, which was then drawn by another team, written and drawn by another team. So I had the things that connected them all together. And I had 8 days to do 12 pages, and I made that deadline. Of course, the other people doing their stuff didn't, so that book never saw print. But that's sometimes the game. It's not, you know what, and you don't get. Their contract was 30 days after print. So I did my work, I made my deadline, and I didn't get paid because other people didn't.
Ouch.
It's tough. Yeah. Very tough game.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's good for any freelancer of any type, honestly, is to know how to work contracts with people, because like, you definitely, if you're an artist, you don't want it. So it's like, you get paid when I print it, you know, where's the asterisk for the if you don't print it? Like, you know, like that's definitely a huge deal. Like I do web design, like that's, I had a friend of mine bring me a potential client, and I'm reading over the contract they want me to put my own name on, and I'm like, this thing was for somebody charging per hour. I'm charging for a project, and it allows you to cancel at any moment. If I'm not charging per hour, you could cancel halfway through my work, and I've spent days of unpaid labor. I'm like, I'm not doing that. If I was going to do that, I'd charge 3 times as much just in case. You know, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. There's not a lot of contract signing in the independent comic book realm.
Yeah, that is another hurdle. That is actually a good point that I kind of just came to organically, was that watch out for small press. Their contracts they don't pay that well, and the contracts are structured a certain way. So if you're late or someone else is late, it could cause you to end up doing a lot of work that you didn't end up getting paid for, which it was fine, by the way, because it was a learning experience. It was like my second contracted work. And so I was glad to do it. And it would have been great exposure if the book had gotten out there. And the pages, they're not bad. It was a tricky. I had all the segue stuff, so it was tricky stuff, you know. And of course, they were all on the steps. These 4 girls, their 4 main characters, drinking wine and handing out candy. Really weird, because this book had a little girl in it who's dressed like Robin Hood, because she's like, looks up to her, and at the very end ended up getting shot by by an arrow of one of Robin Hood's like arch nemesis. And so she makes it back to them like in bad shape. And I'm like, this is not a book for kids. I mean, they're drinking wine. There's a little girl that gets shot. I don't know who they're making their books for. So it's tricky stuff, you know, the freelance market.
For our comic, just a heads up, it's not for kids. There's just swearing and no.
Are you guys talking about Milky? Is that the book you're talking about?
No, that's what's Josh's last name?
Jackson.
It's Josh Jackson's work. He's we were helping promote him, but we weren't involved in the creation of that.
He sent me a copy of that to review for him last year.
Awesome. Very cool.
And I didn't have. It wasn't a bad book as far as aesthetics, but the story was kind of all over the place. And so I told him, like, dude, you don't want me to review your book, but it's good art. It's really good art.
By the way, even giving him personal review. That's the other thing too that people don't realize as indie comic creators is that a lot of people are afraid of what they're going to hear, but honestly, it's the stuff you don't hear that's more concerning. You want to hear that kind of stuff, because if you never release a comic, you'll never get better. But if you release one and people judge you, you might lose a couple people up front, but there's a couple people you would have never got to begin with if it was never released. And now that you have people reviewing it, critiquing it, and looking at it, like, that's super helpful, because now the people who enjoyed my work didn't like this, so I know I can now lean into this a little more and fix that one spot. And now that's again how you build that relationship with those 1,000 true fans, is like really getting at the core of like what they want.
There is something to be said about what you're talking about, because I try to conduct myself 99% of the time the same way. Is whenever somebody doesn't like something of mine, I say, you know what, I really appreciate you looking. Maybe I'll hit the mark with you on the next piece. I hope, I really appreciate your comment and your time. I'm going to endeavor to do something that you eventually like. And just through that interaction, they're like, okay, you know what, this guy's trying. Because I'm not, I'm an artist learning, and it's always an education, right? You're never, unless I become Travis Charest overnight, it's not going to happen, right? So I'm always going to be pushing myself to be better, to get better, and I've won that guy over because of how I dealt with him. And you know what? He may not even like the next thing, but he'll see, oh, this guy's making some kind of marked improvement, or he did hit this particular note. You've made a fan for life, or somebody that who may potentially be a customer for life. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I take my criticism that way all the time. Like, you know what, I understand this one didn't hit your hit you in the feels. I'll try again.
Hit you in the feels. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I only printed, like, I asked people. I was like, okay, so our first comic is out, and I can. We go through a drop shipping company that prints comics called Ready Comics. We're actually trying to grow a partnership with them. So we're trying to get any indie comic creator to like go under us to go to them.
Yeah, we're trying to make it so, like, whenever you order something in bulk, you end up getting a discount. But the problem is that indie creators rarely order in the amount of bulk that would be satisfying enough for that discount, or for like the bigger discounts. So we're trying to work a deal with them where if we can increase their flow by a certain amount, can we increase that discount at lower rates if people are coming through us? So basically by being like an affiliate with us and going through us and being like, oh, I'm sent here by Sierra Nova Comics to get this printed, that you could get a discount through them if we can just increase the amount of work that they're going to have to do.
So are you basically trying to create a schedule of, hey, these 5 books wanted to go in September, but we held them back a little bit. We're all going to go in October to get a bigger discount.
Potentially. So right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to first get a pool of people that we know we can get to go to them. And once we have a number, then because we've actually talked with the owner. It's very funny. I accidentally stumbled across them because that's not even how I found them though. Like the way, because you figured out that you were doing that after I looked them up accidentally. But what happened was I got followed by a company called Printify on my phone. And so that was good marketing by them by just, spam following me, right? So I found them. I'm like, oh, what do they do? I looked them up. I'm like, oh, they do drop shipping, like print T-shirt, right? Like they'll print a T-shirt on demand and send it, and it's a pretty damn good discount for printing one-offs, right? Mm-hmm. And so what ends up happening is, because of that, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's a drop shipping company for comic books. I doubt it because it's probably pretty niche, but I'll look into it. And I found Ready Comics. he's like, oh, I think I follow them on Instagram. So we look into them. I go to their website. I check out all their stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was looking for. So I called their phone number. I talked to the secretary. I start describing what it is what our goal is, like our whole, like, building this indie community, trying to get a bunch of people together so that we can help, revolutionize the comic book industry in a totally different way. And like halfway through that conversation, she's like, well, 1 second, let me get somebody else on the phone. And so I go, oh, awesome. Like, she's like, I'm going to get the owner. I'm like, great. So it's funny because the owner's name is Greg. So I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, this is so I end up getting him on the phone. I started telling him all this, and he's like, oh, wow. He's like, we actually were trying to do that years ago, but it's just, the amount of work we're doing just for this one part of it, which is kind of like I was saying earlier, like if you guys are doing YouTube, like that's great. Like you guys, like let's let you guys do that.
Promote the shit out of you.
Yeah, because like obviously we can't handle everything, and our goal isn't to be we don't want to be the bottleneck for anyone. We want to be the fan for the flames, right? And so the whole point is that when we told him that, he's like, oh, that's exactly what we wanted to do, is to start reaching more indie creators and start building out that community. So I talked with him and I said, if we can try to basically increase your workload by being a continual promoter and like a partner with them, is there a way that we can start being able to get discounts for people? And he's like, once we get our numbers up, to give them a call back essentially and chat with them. But I know that they're ramping up productions. They bought more printing machines, I forgot what they're called, but the printing machines. And so basically, yeah, that's our goal, is that if we can be a funnel for them to also help indie creators. There's another tangent. One of my favorite books is Sam Walton's Made in America. It's based on Walmart. And people forget, before 1992, many people really loved Walmart because they could finally get the thing they wanted at a good price. And the big thing was that the way that Walmart worked, and it still kind of works this way, is if Walton could actually get a discount on, say, a mug, he wouldn't then just still sell it for $10. He would drop his price too to help the customer. And I love that concept so much that's what I do with anything. If I can save money somehow, I want to save whoever we're also selling to, right? Like that's our goal, is to figure out a way to simply, help out in the middle if we can, and help out on the outskirts if we can.
We'll definitely have to talk off air about creating this kind of partnership that you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Are we forming a merger? Is that what we're?
Yeah, we definitely have like tons of people that we've been talking with, because even like New Leaf Comics, like
He was like the first on Instagram. We
did like a video chat and just chatted with them. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And
Lasted like hours.
it was funny too, because the whole reason he talked to us was when we first started, we had no comic books on our website. And so we were trying to convince random people to put their comic books on our website and be like, listen, our goal is to help you guys out. We take a very, very small percentage of our, so what we do is we have like a Netflix style, people pay for a month or pay per month, and then they have access to a catalog. It's very much like, Comixology, but the goal is to be as diverse as possible. And obviously Comixology hosts Marvel, so it's kind of limited on what you're going to be seeing there. And so that's our goal, is to get like this huge indie platform with comic books that are all digital, so anyone can find them. Eventually push that towards print. So say, comic book A is doing really well, maybe print off a couple of those, or get them in our printed store, which we don't have yet set up, just because we're still working on all that. But if we can get a comic book creator on there, that's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to convince people, and they're like, what are you selling? Like, how are you going to be screwing me? And we're like, literally, we came up with an idea to put our comic books online, and we're like, hey, I wonder if anyone else needs help with this. We should just help out. And so we had to keep I can't tell you how many times we had somebody like confused why we were trying to help them out. And
We were first explaining like an hour to him, to Hector New Leaf, like he's like, but like, what's the catch? It's like, there literally is no catch.
Like we don't tell creators they can't put their platform or their comic book anywhere. We don't care if they print with someone else. They don't care if they publish with someone else, as long as we're not infringing on whatever the other publishers, doing, obviously. But the whole point is like we're just trying to be another platform, another potential source of revenue for these creators. And yeah, so we get him on Instagram, and we chat, and he's like, at the very end, he's like, I'm really glad we had this talk because that's all I needed to hear. Like, I am 100% on board. I'm gonna start promoting you guys. I'm gonna start doing X, Y. And I was like, oh, like that's the whole reason we were doing it, was to help people. And the second we got through to a couple people like that, it definitely started growing. Like people really appreciate it, because we're not trying to like take as much as we possibly can. We're trying to take the least that we can and be sustainable. And as long as that's, as long as we can continue to do that, that's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, the IndieCom model, when I sent out the pitch, it said in there that no one individual will gain anything other than the networking and the cross marketing of your book. But if the channel becomes monetized, it's not, we either plan to put a portion of it towards charity, and then a portion it towards marketing and building a bigger brand, but nothing to go into anybody's pocket or anything like that. Maybe we might do like sponsored ads for a book we're really behind or something like that. But it's not, IndieCom TV is not meant to be something where any one of us, me, Joe, or a guy named Evan, are making any money at it, because we don't plan to at all. That's
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, with the videos for like teaching other creators and like people that are coming up out of nowhere, like new creators. We have the idea of, do you know what Udemy is, or Skillshare? So this is how he learned like web design stuff.
Yeah, they're basically like online schools where you can buy a class, but the classes can be created by anyone. Typically, like Udemy, it's like $10 to $200. You buy it once, and then you just own the class. On Skillshare, you pay like something like $10 a month, and then you just get access to a catalog. But Udemy, I've gone on there, and that's how I learned how to do web development, and that's what we're kind of.
All right. David Finch has some classes on there.
Yeah, there's a ton of big name people on there, but yeah, that's basically, we wanted to try to get that, but at like not at a smaller scale, but in a smaller sense of like, say there's anyone who's a creator needs to get to the next level. Sometimes learning from Da Vinci might not be as valuable if you don't know how to pick up a pencil yet, right? So like we're trying to get some of like the people who are just picking they've already elevated to the next level, and so we're trying to help carry some other people with them, and then maybe have another level where you can get more people up. And that's kind of the point is, we want to be like the free resource hub for that kind of stuff. And again, that's why we don't care. Like, we don't need to be the printers of the comics. We can go to Ready Comics, right? So we don't need to make everything. We just want to be a place where we can redirect, right? Yeah, 305 redirect. That's our whole goal.
Right. You're creating assets through resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if someone that's really good at lettering, watch videos and you'll learn.
Yeah, and then even aside from that too, we also want it to be. You were mentioning before, like, as we grow, we want to be able to help other people out. And so one of the things we want to do is, like you were saying, like your people appreciate how you draw clothes. Well, the whole point is we'd like to almost have a catalog of freelancers that isn't just like freelancer.com where like, hey, can somebody help me? And 3,000 people spam you. We want to be almost like the people that are like, oh, we're looking for someone to do horror, and we can filter that for them. You don't have to worry about that. We can be like, oh, we got these 3 guys under these 3 price ranges. What do you think? Right? So it's making it. We're basically trying to make it as easy as possible for people to create comics, to create better comics, and to build a community around all of that.
Smart, because nothing is worse than those posts that you see on Facebook is, hey, I'm looking for an artist for 10 pages. What's your rate? Yeah. And then, so the first guy gives his honest answer, and then you start a chain where the next guy's underbidding, and you're not. You know what? That's not how you should seek out your talent. Basically, And like
Yeah.
you're saying, we'll help you seek out your talent. But you should never just throw a blanket post up there and go, "Oh, I'm looking for an artist," because that's not the way to do it. Go find the guy that you think is perfect for your thing, and then ask him, when are you available? Because you want to build a pro team as best that you can. Because if you do the whole thing, I'm on a budget, you'll get what you pay for. I guarantee you.
It is funny too, because one of the things, like to be straightforward too, like we do want to eventually make money with our company, but one of the other reasons why I want to do that is that I want to actually have it so, say we have someone on our digital platform and they can see comic books, right? So we have analytics that are checking how many people are viewing these comics. So I want to be able to go, ooh, this one comic has 300 times the views as any other comic, right? Yeah, which there is. And then what we want to do is, because we would have resources financially, we would print the comics for the creators and bring them to conventions that we'll be paying to go to. And so with that, we would actually end up going, oh, hey, and basically, yeah, like that's like, we want to be so much in the works of all that, so that we don't want there to ever be an excuse that someone who is talented is lost due to the fact that that they're not out there.
Starving artist thing is gonna like die.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal, is to make sure, like, because first off, like, obviously if your work's not good, you have to get better at your work. So keep working on your craft.
Some people need to learn that.
Yeah, some people. Yeah, some people also need that reality check. Hence, create the comic and get the judgment and accept it, and learn how to accept it and make yourself better. But that is one of our other big, that's our more audacious goal, is to get to the point where we can go, okay, these were our 5 top creators this month. Let's print their comics and we'll bring them to a convention and see if we can sell them that way. And essentially, it would still be the same split. I think for print comics, we were doing a higher split just because we had to take the cost up front. So we need to be able to. Yeah, it might be something like 50-50 for that. But like for the digital ones, it's something like we take 20% or 10%. I don't know what it is. 20%, yeah. And so yeah, it's very our whole goal is to make sure that the artist doesn't have to get screwed because they don't have money, they don't know how to find people, right? They can just come to us and be like, yeah, as long as your work is good, we're going to promote it. Like I took out Facebook ads for our company and promoted it to San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con, promoting our merchandise, and only one of the shirts was ours. The rest were other creators. Yeah, and which was that shirt. And then we had I think we had 6 other shirts on there that weren't even ours, that we would make less money selling those than we would our own. And so we don't care about making, a ton of money for the sake of making a ton of money. The goal is to be a resource hub like that, to be able to help people. Like if we find an artist who their stuff's great and they can't get anyone to pay them, maybe we're the ones that buffer it, right? And then we take a cut later on down the line, as opposed to ever having someone hindered because of that.
No, you guys have you guys keep mentioning this, like digital. You have a digital store where you're hosting comics.
Yes, right now.
And what kind of review? What's your viewer? Which one are you using?
Oh, it's what the hell's the name of it? Flip something. So I like I said, I do web development. So I created a WordPress site, and because WordPress has an infinite number of plugins, I just went through a series of plugins. There was one I really wanted, but it was like $80, and at the time I'm like, I already spent a lot more than that getting a lot of other stuff together for the company, and so I was like, I'm not going to get that. I'm just going to get this free one for now, and I think it's called like Flip. There you go, Flipbook 3. Yeah, you can take the comic, like if you're looking at the comic like this when it first opens, you can take a page, flip it open, like it'll look like this, flip open, and then you can angle the book like this and then zoom in. So it's pretty awesome. It works pretty good on mobile as well. Eventually I want a better one, just because mobile, depending on your phone, obviously it can definitely be a little touchy trying to move it, but yeah, it's really awesome trying to get all that stuff. But that's the whole point. It's like not every comic book creator needs to be a web developer to get their comic book online. We can handle that, right? That's kind of our goal.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at 2 hours right now.
Yeah, that's what we were just checking.
Okay. It was great being on your show, guys.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
great meeting you two. You guys
Great
want to
meeting
talk
you
some
as well.
more after we hang up and exchange some information? And
Yeah, absolutely.
cool. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
thanks for having us. Hopefully your audience will come check out IndieCom TV, and please subscribe. You know, obviously we're doing the same kind of thing. We're just trying to build a place where the independent creator could come, again, even if it's for a short time while he's crowdfunding, and get our eyes on his books. And there's no rules about funneling people to your own channel. Because, you know, if we have a big one and we grow yours into a big one too, all the better, you know. So there's no rules like that about this is cross funnel as many, drive people where you want to drive them, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to ask. Basically, at the end of the podcast, we like to have you list off, like if you could have people go to one place, what's the one place you want them to go?
Definitely IndieCom TV on YouTube. You can find me personally on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you were to search Todd Mulrooney, or Instagram might be Mulrooney Todd, and Twitter might be Mulrooney Todd. I don't use any phony names or put our name in the description. I don't have a moniker. I'm a bit of an OG. I don't even know why that happened. I'm sure it's about safety and doxing and stuff, but I'm too old. Everybody knows where I am, so they can find me, because it's a business. Why wouldn't you want people to know your name, right? You want to be contacted. You don't want somebody not to contact you because your name is Casper the Ghost set 375. And
That's a good guy. I know him.
I'm not going to contact the guy named Casper the Ghost 375 because I don't want to say that out loud. You know what I mean? So
I don't want to say that out loud.
Nice. Well, we'll keep you on the call for just a second, but we're going to end the podcast. And so thanks everyone for joining us. Cool. All right. So now the podcast is ended. But yeah, definitely. The other thing we're going to do too on YouTube, if there's any other links you want to promote the actual links or the channels, we'll try to find some of them. But if you have them readily available, definitely send them to us, because we'll put them in the description of our YouTube video.
okay.
And and one thing I was going to say too is also for your channel, you should check out a plugin. Do you use Google Chrome?
Yeah.
There's a plugin called vidIQ. Have you heard of that?
No.
So what it does is any website or any YouTube channel you're on, any video you're looking at, it will give you insights onto it, what tags they're using, how well it's being ranked for those tags, how many views it gets per hour, what's the current flow rate, how much money they're getting on it, tons of information, all for free. There's a paid version where you get like even more in-depth stuff, but unless you're a YouTube marketing expert, there's no reason for it. But definitely, like I use that even for like I was mentioning earlier, I do gaming, and on my Twitch channel, I'll crop videos out and throw them up on YouTube, and I'll use that little plugin. It's phenomenal.
It's called vidIQ.
vidIQ.
Okay.
Yeah, I found that through some marketing course from some guy in the UK through Udemy. So I was like, all right, and it's been super helpful. And actually, I know one other person who used it. He teaches stock trading, and he lives local too. And he went from 0 subscribers like everybody to 250,000 subscribers in less than 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, using that plugin, and the fact that he was obviously providing something of value, because nobody was talking about stock trading online when he got in there. Or if they were, it was all about how to give you, for you to give them your money, because I'm the smart one, right? He was like telling all the stuff. He's like, yeah, these are a couple of bad trades I bought this year. Here's a couple of good trades. So it's definitely like being behind the scenes for that kind of stuff is incredibly valuable, and that little plugin helps with the algorithm part that you might not know.
Your comic hosting website is called Sear Nova too. SearNova.
Comics.com.
Yeah.
I gotta make an account. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, cool. Because like the biggest thing is that, so like I said, I'm a marketer for my other job, and well, for my business, I'm hoping to make it not a job, because right now it is a job. But basically, yeah, the whole point is that if you capture somebody for a second and then you never see them again, you'll never actually gain an audience. And it's the number one still to this day, since the moment the internet was created, way to market is to capture email. It's still the best way. In fact, I think it's still something like 30% of leads are still, or sales are still brought through email for major corporations. Like it's people don't realize that even though emails are annoying, when it's something you want, people still love them. I know, I fucking hate this. I finally had to unsubscribe. It's so funny too, because one of his was like, people keep asking why I keep sending emails all the time. I'm like, yes, I'm asking it. Please stop. I don't have $10,000, Grant. I'm sorry. I followed you. I followed you too early. When I get the money, I'll follow you again. But yeah, it's definitely, yeah, it's still a work in progress, but it's definitely something that, you know, we wanted to get up there and make sure, again, we're just trying to get people to not be limited, but, you know, obviously, like I said, we need it in a sustainable way so that it can actually, because he wants that to be his only job, right, is working in this company. And so that's the way that we're trying to do that, is to get it so that we can capture emails, continue to connect with people. For example, like we now have a bunch of emails for indie creators. So now, like, say there's say someone comes into our community and they're like, hey, we're really looking for an artist. We're like, oh, we have a bunch of emails directly to an artist, as opposed to like, oh, I got to go to Fiverr, Upwork, freelancer.com, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and like find people that way. Yeah. But it's funny, like instead of having to do all that, we can be that one source where it's like, yeah, we already got a guy. We've already filtered him out. We know he does his work good. You don't have to worry about him disappearing because he's from, you know, some place that we can't get a hold of. Like, you know, this is somebody who's one of our guys, you know, that kind of thing. And so that's definitely a huge thing that's helpful.
As an artist, I've always loved when I've been approached by somebody who goes, you know, I've seen your stuff. I'd really like you to work on my book. And then that starts a conversation, right? And that conversation either goes exactly where you think it's going to go, or you go, I don't think I draw that. I don't draw monsters, or I don't draw that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I have a hard time visualizing them from every angle, and I don't want to be a guy who can only draw certain things straightforward. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to turn down your alien comic book. You know what I mean? So if I'm going to have to create a lot of characters and create them from all these different angles to make it a very dynamic book, those are usually the ones I turn down, that have unique things, you know, unique monsters or unique aliens or
probably in the writer's head anyways. And if you don't get it their way, you're going to redraw it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a very good guy that I came across, and he was willing to pay me the rate I asked. But he had two things he wanted. One, he wanted his dead friend who had committed suicide in the book. Oh. And he wanted these monsters and these aliens to sort of evolve each time we, you know, each book, like each arc, like they're here now on our planet and they're changing. And I was like, man, that's a lot of different looks I'm going to have to create. And I had I didn't have trouble getting his friend right, but I had trouble the more I did it, the more I'm going, I don't know, you know, there's something about this that's really creeping me out. Like, I know what you're doing. You're trying to keep his memory alive, but I don't know that you do it this way, you know, by putting him in a book. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But yeah, I've always loved that interaction of, hey, I really appreciate your stuff. Would you like to hear about this book I want to do? That was always, you know, because a lot of those conversations, granted, you might actually get to a place with a few people. I've gotten to a place where I've done hours and hours of product and production and promos and stuff, and then the project will fall apart, you know. And I've actually grown as a person on how to navigate that and weed that out of my life, because it's happened. I a really great writer in the independent community, Brian Hawkins, who had a lot of books that have been successful on Kickstarter. He wanted the book we were working on, and he wanted to show nudity, and I'm just like, dude, I'm not ready for that. I didn't see it in the beginning. Like when we were doing this girl, her name was she was going to be a football star, right? She was a quarterback, and so she had some kind of enhancements. But what she was really doing was she was being pushed into the system by the FBI to uncover something that was going on in the NFL. So she was going to become America's sweetheart by accident, And then he wanted to show her in very mature situation. I was like, I don't. It changes the dynamic of the book of what it could be. And then at the very same time, this show called Pitch came out, and it was about a pitcher working her way into the big leagues, or she might have been on the Padres already or whatever. And I was like, oh Jesus, there goes that idea. That's that's going to really seem like we came out and we copied it. So that was one of the things that I had done a lot of work on, including about 18 pages, and it just fell apart after that. So sometimes those things happen,
Yeah, that's the way we feel to help avoid all that. Yeah, I think your friend left because I think he said you guys are doing a live.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna go do a live show, I think.
Yeah, so we'll definitely let you go. But like I said, send us. Do you have our email?
No, give it to me.
Yes. Oh, we have your email? Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So our email is seernovacomics@gmail.com. So SEERNOVACOMICS@gmail.com. And then, but yeah, if you can send us any links that you want promoted for this podcast, we'll definitely put them at the the description. And
Okay.
we're probably going to be taking snippets of this and breaking it apart and putting it like on IGTV and Instagram feed. And then in those, we'll share some links on there as well.
Yeah, I came in with a lot of energy, and I think I actually, because I was so close to my computer, I was pushing a lot of my own heat onto it, and I overheated it.
Oh, is that why?
I had, yeah, because I was actually in here, I was sweating, I was just trying to be enthusiastic, because one of the two people that I always think of when you're really trying to sell an idea when it has to do with comics, right, is McFarlane and Stan Lee. Stan Lee 10 years ago and before, they were like the ambassadors of comics. So I always try to think that, geez, the energy I need to bring to something new is that energy,
Well,
So
was 2 years ago is still energetic. Like,
yeah.
it's crazy.
I was actually putting off a ton of heat onto my computer, and it overheated.
Very funny. Yeah, we'll let you go, but yeah, definitely shoot us an email with all that stuff, and definitely feel free you can use this for whatever you want and crop it up once it's up on YouTube.
The podcast will be up on Tuesday.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll probably use the first 10 minutes. I'll download it and put it on Instagram.
Very nice. Cool.
See you guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.